Okay, we are here with Brandon, who is the senior data analyst at Covalent. And Brandon, great to have you here and provide your words of wisdom to those taking part in the NFT Hack hackathon. Given how you've basically done a deepest dive of most people I know into the NFT data. So maybe you could talk a little bit about your experience there in terms of what you've been doing and we'll get into what you've discovered.
Yeah, so I got a bit of a head start with the data stuff just because of AlphaAlarm. I'll share that in a second. But basically, my whole background is finance, so I dove in kind of with a finance perspective, looking at the investment, speculation, purchasing, whatever you want to call it. And so it's kind of removed from the utility aspect. I want to preface it by saying that. Um, I definitely think that exists, but the data side is mostly what I've been focused on, and the financial aspects behind that. So I'm just going to pull up my screen here and give a little intro to Alpha Alarm. So this is our Twitter page. Alpha Alarm, the whole objective is to just provide daily DeFi visuals for all major blockchain networks. So every network that Covalent supports, we'll put out digestible insights every day in the form of an easy to read visual from Twitter. So the idea is to simplify it down so much that you can just pull it up on your phone, look at it, and understand what's going on. So today's post, for example, just shows that 25% of sales on Rarible came from these 33 NFTs. So the largest one, which I believe was $1 million punk draw, something like that. That was traded the most on Rarible for about 2.3 million.
Wow.
And we've gone through a bunch of other ones throughout the week. This is like the how much capital, ERC20 capital, do these ERC20 and ETH do these Rarible users have? So this is the most active Rarible users, and I guess one of them actually has about $300 million in reserves. So I mean, they're playing around, and they're a pretty heavy hitter. So just
Wow.
looking into the data like this, and yeah, that's kind of the context.
Awesome. And I mean, those look absolutely beautiful. I'm curious to hear sort of what was your experience in terms of diving into the data to generate those visuals. Is it relatively easy with tools like the Covalent API to pull that data? Where did you struggle?
Yeah, for sure. I think it is easy um, if you know what you're looking for, and that's the trick, right? Like uh, the way I look at the Covalent API, like we have all of the information. If there's information on the blockchain, we have it, and that's just the way it is. So all you need to do is figure out what information you're looking for, and that's not a fault of the API, right? That's the user. If you don't know what you're looking for, you're going to have a little bit of an issue. And originally, I didn't know what I was looking for,
Hmm.
and so I did run into some some issues, some blockers, but really, like it comes down to that was due to my inexperience and a mixture of the structuring of the data. And I'm sure we'll get into that in a second here, but uh, yeah, so it was very simple now that I know kind of the recipe for it, right? To do the plug of your cookbook recipes. If you know the recipe for it, it's super simple and super easy. And it's just figuring out that recipe that is the fun part.
Hmm. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how the data might vary depending on the platform or marketplace that is hosting some NFTs. Like, did you find relative consistency amongst sort of the transactional data available depending on the type of platform that was used to create and transact the NFTs, or were there differences?
Yeah, I think there's no consistency whatsoever. It's not even close. not just in different schema and different indexes for information, but it's just completely different information that's brought back depending on the platform. And I think that's just a function of, these platforms have been kind of operating separately for a while, and they've had their separate community bases, right? And it's not, they're just new, right? And so
Yeah.
they're still iterating and still adapting. It's not like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, and all the different swaps, all the different dexes. It's so consistent with what they put out because that's the data that's needed. But these NFT platforms, they're trailblazers, right? They didn't know what was needed when they built this. So it's just partially navigating that, and yeah, navigating the different inconsistencies, but I'm sure that'll get streamlined eventually.
Yeah, and I guess part of with the dexes too, a lot of them are just forks of each other, and so there's
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
some consistency there. Whereas with the NFT space, it sounds like they're sort of, becoming a little bit more streamlined, but still a ways away there.
And even if the dexes, even if they aren't a fork, they're still, they have a Uniswap to look up to, right? They
Yeah.
have a model of what works. And Rarible, OpenSea, like there's no Zora, there's nobody that is a Uniswap in the space yet, that can be modeled afterwards, right?
Right. So can you take what you've learned so far and maybe summarize it in terms of the top three sort of pitfalls or challenges when working with NFT data?
Yeah, so the first one, like I mentioned before, I think the first one is a user issue, right? So when I started to dig into this, I was coming from a place where I could know what I was looking for and I could look for that and I could find it. That's the financial side of crypto, like the DeFi space in general. If it's a lending protocol, if it's a DEX, you know what you're looking for, you find it, and it's easy. And so I went in with the same focused attitude into the NFT space, and I was just too focused too soon, and I missed a lot of the data because of inconsistencies, right? So there are inconsistencies, and I didn't know about them, so I just went after what I was looking for, and it turns out what I was looking for is very similar to other things that weren't captured by my focused searching, right? So I would say the first pitfall was my own, and it was just that I went in way too focused. Like pull a broad set of topics, of wallets, of whatever you're pulling, pull a broad set and limit it to 10 or 50, but get a broad set. That's kind of my first pitfall. And then the second one, I think it comes down to the platforms, the last two. The data is really easy to manipulate in from a user's perspective. So if I'm a user of any of these platforms, I can go in and get a flash loan and transfer myself my own NFT and really inflate the price.
Right.
And so for an example, like the most expensive NFT technically on OpenSea was sold for $200 million. It was sold to a guy from himself with a flash loan. But still, technically, the
Yeah.
largest single NFT transaction on OpenSea was over $200 million.
Right.
And I'm sure there's a ton more of that that I just can't see. I can filter out for when one person sends it to themselves. Like that's not hard to filter out. But it's just the general point is that the data is really easy to manipulate, and the easiest point to do those checks. Now, I don't think it should be limited. If you want to take out a flash loan and buy your own NFT from yourself, I don't think any platform should step in and say, no, you can't do that. But I do think that they can put flags on things, right? It's easy to flag when the transaction is occurring rather than after the fact, because then it just gets added to the pool of data that already exists, right?
Right.
So I think that's one pitfall. It's just easy to manipulate, and there's no real flags or indicators of when the data is being manipulated, like you can see in the traditional finance sectors. And then the third one, also comes down to the platform level. And I think this will be improved through iteration. It's just that the data is not easy to consume. Like
Hmm.
they'll take even within the same platform. I'm not going to name names, but even within the same platform, they'll use a transfer event for three different purposes, three different schemas, right? Which technically shouldn't happen. You know, it should be a from, a to, and a value.
Yeah.
But occasionally they'll put like token ID in the value, and there's no indication of why that occurred. So is that value, is that a token ID, or is that just a really small value
Mm.
of whatever is being transferred, right? And you can figure that out. Like it's not that the information isn't there, because you just go and you check what emitted that transfer event.
Yeah.
But it just adds a lot of steps and makes the data really hard to consume. So look out for that if you're a user, and
Hmm.
try to fix that if you're trying to develop further.
Got it. So if I could quickly summarize your 3 points there. The first is, as the user, to go broad with your data pull, and not go in with a very like niche or detailed or targeted focus, because you might miss some of the interesting and the good stuff that's available, because the data is a bit messy. The second being that the data can be relatively easily manipulated. And so, you have the ability to, for example, to use a flash loan to buy your own NFT, which itself isn't necessarily an issue, but what you're saying is maybe have some flags, or have an ability to know that this data potentially can be manipulated. And then the third point being that the as the consumer of the data, sometimes there might not be sort of consistency amongst the different marketplaces or platforms hosting the NFTs and managing the transfers. And so for those providers to do a better job of streamlining and have some element of consistency, and for the user to just be aware that that's going to be a challenge they're going to face.
Yeah, that's a perfect summary. Yep.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, thanks so much for taking the time to share your wisdom there. And I know you'll be available on the Discord channel to provide any support for the hackathon participants who will probably benefit from your advice. So thanks again for providing that support, and look forward to more beautiful visualizations coming out from AlphaAlarm. There's some great stuff there.
Awesome. Yeah, everybody go follow AlphaAlarm. It'll be fun. We got lots of stuff coming up. NFTs again next week, so it'll be fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.